Good evening once again. So let us start. Tonight we have Body-Mind Connection Part 3. And we are going to talk about stress. So when we hear the word stress, what do you think about? What is stress? Sometimes, and we'll talk just in a couple minutes, people call stress what is not actually stress. And people don't call stress what is actually stress. It depends on what angle you take a look at this word. There are tons of books. If you go to Barnes and Nobles, there's hundreds of varieties. And if you go online, it's thousands of varieties of books on stress. How to handle stress, what to do, how to handle stress at work, in the family, and many, many, many other topics, close from far and near. Any topics related to stress, they are fully kind of covered. Today we'll talk, I took a lot of information and I tried to bring it, pull the most necessary information and squeeze it into one short presentation. Unfortunately, sometimes people are misusing the word stress. Frustration or agitation or any of these kind of feelings is not actually stress. We're going to talk later. It's actually a problem of character. And we'll discuss about this a little bit later. That can lead to stress. But this is not a stress. So when something is frozen in computer and you get mad with computer, that's not stress. That's frustration, agitation, and there are many other terminologies or feelings what you can express. The stress is, well, let's read very carefully. Stress is the consequence of the failure to adapt to a change. I'll explain to you. So there is a change. Our body tries to adapt to that change. And when it fails to adapt, that reaction or that what happens in our body is called stress. For example, just to make it more simple, you are driving on the freeway, relaxed, no traffic, here and there, one car in front of you. So you are relaxed. You are driving without stress. But suddenly, you see something like this in front of you. You know that it's not your car, but unless you brake or unless you try to avoid the area or the danger, you'll hit that car. Because you're on let's say, 65 miles per hour. So this is a stressful situation. But this is not a stress yet. The change what appears requires our body a certain reaction. So our body has to adapt to this change. For a while, driving in a relaxed mood, after this change happens, we have to absorb it and react with certain reactions. So we have to do certain moves. We have to press a brake. We have to think fast what to do. And even we have to look in the mirror. If there is no car on the right, if I want to turn the right, for example, in this situation, if I turn right, I want to see if there is no car, that I'm going to cause more problems. And this we have to do in a moment. And if our body fails to adapt to these changes, that is stress. We'll talk further about the physiology, and step by step you will understand more and more what I'm talking about. So there are two main questions we have to answer while we are focusing on stress. How quickly your body will adapt to a change. That's very important. How quickly you will, from your brain, there will be sent a right signal to your hands, how to turn in right or left the steering wheel, or to press a brake, and how hard you need to press a brake, or maybe you need just to accelerate to avoid the accident. That is how quickly your body will adapt, how quickly you will react in a proper way. Next question, how quickly your body will relax after that situation. And our body, in most cases, fails on the step number 2, or question number 2, failing to relax after the stressful situation. So when a change appears, when a situation, or circumstances, or emotion, and news, or something which causes or requires our reaction, that is causing stress. But the main question is, how quickly we will handle that, we will relax and forget about that. If to talk about stress itself, their body reaction, it actually has 3 stages, 3 steps following one another. Alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. For example, you are swimming and you feel that you lose control over water, so you begin to sink. Now, this is alarm. So your brain gets an alarm. I am in danger to sink. Next question, resistance. How long can you swim? So, for example, let's say that you were, going to be the kayak or somewhere in a river or in a lake, and something happens, and you're on a distance, let's say 20 feet from a boat. Can you make it back to the boat? So that's the question, how resistant, how long can you do it? And then the third stage is exhaustion, when body exhausts and we cannot take it anymore, and we just yield to whatever happens. Do you know that many people, they did a research, that many people who had many chances to survive in a calamity, in something, when something big happens, earthquake, or a hurricane, tornado, and when, for example, people are found under, just walls of a collapsed house, after earthquake or something similar. So many people who had a lot of chances to survive die, while people which, according to a logic, had no chance to survive, they survive. And the scientists try to understand, why. And here comes body-mind connection. The third stage comes when from here we send a command, I cannot anymore. Okay, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. That's it. So when we yield in our brain, when we fail here, then the body fails. You heard about the marathon? And do you know why it's called marathon till today? It's actually about a Greek who ran, if I'm not mistaken, it was 50 kilometers. So that's what, about 34 miles non-stop, just to bring a good news that we won. Because there was a battle, and since that in a history, that because it was about the city marathon, so now the running on the distance is called marathon. How he could do it? Because it's here. Yes, that was over the body limit. He died. But many people survive because they don't yield to death. I told you a story on the first, those who were here on the part number 1. I was talking about the brain power. I'll just repeat one short story. It's a true story. There was a young man about 19 years of age. He had a bicycle, and then he had an accident, and then he had a back problem. So he's from here down, he was paralyzed, so he couldn't walk. And that happened in Moscow, in Russia, actually. And the police were about to arrest a drug dealer, but somehow they messed up the floor. And they just broke the door. They got in with guns to his face, stand up and hands to the wall. And they just yelled to him, stand up, I'll shoot you. Stand up and hands to the wall. So he stood up, he falls. He stood up again and puts his hands on the wall. And on this noise, his mom steps in. Says, praise the Lord. My son was paralyzed for 2 years. So you see where the paralysis was? It was here. Of course, not in all cases everything is here. When the nerve is really damaged, there is nothing you can do. But in many cases, in many stories, the problem is here, not in the legs or arms. Now, we're coming to the physiology of stress. That's a little bit of a complicated, this is the most complicated slide of our study tonight. So let's say you see something. You see a situation, a danger. You meet a lion in a forest or a bear. You see a danger. That will cause, the hypothalamus in our brain to send a signal down to adrenal cortex, as you see 2 red above the kidneys over here. And they produce a hormone. So when you see something, the signal from our brain goes there above the kidney, and that releases a hormone, cortisol, and that hormone adapts or makes our body able to adapt to stressful situation. So what does cortisol do? What this hormone makes to our body? First of all, it increases blood flow and controls its repartition. Let me explain. When we have a stressful situation and you need to save your life, you need to run from a bear, what is the most important organ at that moment? The stomach, intestine, or the muscles on the legs? Muscles, no? So this is what this hormone does. It shrinks, constricts the blood vessels, which brings blood to internal organs such as stomach, intestine, pancreas, while dilates the blood vessels, which brings blood to muscles and to lungs. Why to lungs? Because we need oxygen, and that oxygen needs to flow to our muscles. So it increases the frequency of breathing. we begin to breathe more frequently because we need more oxygen. And while we are breathing more frequently, also our heart is beating more often. Increases blood sugar. We always have in our body a deposit for sugar. And that sugar is released in this most necessary moment. Why? Because the muscles, when they work, they need energy. And the quickest energy is from sugar. Not less sugar, this white, like you see, refined sugar. No. It's a molecule which called sugar, which is a kind of a carbohydrates stored in our body. Lowers sensitivity to pain. You know that people under stress, they don't feel pain. And minor scratches, they just ignore them. While they wouldn't be able to ignore in other situations. Strengthens the muscles. So under stress, in a stressful situation, we can lift things which we would never be able to lift in other situations. We can jump so high that we would never be able to jump, even if we would be offered $1 million, still we would not jump. I know a situation that a thief was so scared to be caught, he jumped over about this high fence. Just, when the car lights caught him, he just jumped over. Maybe he was a sportsman, I don't know, but that's something, I know, I heard a story that father lifted a concrete which was about a couple tons, but because the concrete fell and he got his daughter's feet under, so from one side he was able to lift a little bit that concrete to release his daughter's feet. Would he be able to lift that concrete plate in other situation? Never. It's couple tons plate. So this is what happens to our body and accelerates the reactions. As I told you, when you see a dangerous situation driving on the freeway, you react immediately. And your reactions are faster than your thoughts. You begin to think after, oh, what could happen? But at that moment, you just react to that. All this is called fight or flight response. Look at this picture. Now imagine this lady, happy with her groceries, comes out of the store, and behind the corner she meets a lion. In couple seconds, or maybe in 1 second, she will be, you see the open window up there? She will be there closing the window tight. That's what is our body capable of when we are under stress. Because all the responses are sharpened. We react quickly. We have extra power. And our muscles are able to jump, to run, for longer distance, to lift heavier things. And we are able to do tremendous things under stress. Now, a question. What happens if a stressful situation finds us on the couch? Just a phone call. The most dangerous stress is stress caused by emotional factors. Why? I'll explain to you in a moment. The emotional factors are coming when we are not on alert, first of all. Second, nobody usually when the emotional factor comes, nobody reacts with a run. There is no fight or flight reaction. We're just sitting on the couch and just try to chew the information we just received. And that's what is destroying our body. Emotional factors, there are many. A phone call, some news, bad news. It can be some problems at work, problems, financial problems, problems in the family, a misunderstanding, a fight between the parents, children, father and mother, husband, wife, and neighbors. Those emotional factors, when they step into our life, this is what destroys our life. When you have or you see a car accident, even if you get involved in a car accident without any kind of damage to your body, like breaking bones or something like that, it will not cause as much problem to your body in general as the bad news. You know that those, for example, if my wife gets in an accident and a police officer calls me, "Are you Ghennadiy?" "Yes." "Is Olga Melnychuk your wife?" "Yes." You know what? She got in a car accident and an ambulance took her. Maybe she has just a scratch on the shoulder. And she knows that it's just a scratch on the shoulder. So she is under stress. But they gave her to breathe, and they relaxed her. While who is really under stress? It's me who got the news, because I imagine all the crazy things already. And until I go to the hospital and I see and talk, then handling the insurance, then hiring a lawyer. So who is under stress? Me. A lot adds to stress negative autosuggestion. I even seen a book called The Poor Me Manual. A personal story. So the author of the book, I never read that book, but probably the author of the book tells how he was one of those, the poor me, self-pity. And many times people get their, gray line of their life, turns it into black by autosuggestion, by negative thoughts, allowing negative thoughts and sticking to those negative thoughts. Now, I want to explain to you something why. I'll try to make you to understand why the emotional factors are that damaging to our body. Look at this sportsman, a body geared to work. So in a couple seconds, they will hear a puff and they will run, no? Now imagine that they stay like that, ready to run, and they wait 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, 10 minutes. You know what? They won't be able to stay like that 10 minutes. They'll just fall on the floor, exhausted. But they didn't run. Why they exhausted? They did not run. Why they fell exhausted? Let me bring you an illustration. This is a military jet. And this is a pictures when they actually turn the maximum power, which is called forçage. And this is the maximum speed. And when they turn it on, actually, you know, you just hear this kind of explosive sound, and you can see that they lift up maybe over 100 feet way behind them if they and close to water. While they're on the ground, they cannot turn the maximum power. You know why? Because the jet will just explode. It must have already a certain speed to accelerate to maximum. They just cannot use that from a start, well, while they're on the ground, just to turn it to maximum. They will just explode right there. Our body is something like a jet engine. When a lot of fuel comes in, there is an explosive process. And that explosion, because it's a directed explosion, the explosion comes backward while it pushes the jet forward. Something similar what happens to our body. When we meet a lion or a bear in a forest, there is a fight or flight reaction. So we actually use our energy. You remember what the hormone cortisol does. It sends the blood to muscles. And we use that energy. So we actually get ready to work, and we do the work. We do something. We either run or fight or climb a tree or do something. When the bad news finds you in a couch, and there is a long night before you to think about, you're not running. You know, it's like the cortisol, it's on the maximum. But you're not flying. You're on the ground, in your couch. And what happens? An internal explosion. Internal explosion. And this is why it brings to such results. Gastrointestinal diseases. Why it causes gastrointestinal diseases? So now let us puzzle all these, little puzzles of a picture together. I've told you already that when we are under stress, the blood vessels which brings blood to stomach, intestine, they constrict. So stomach under stress does not receive a lot of blood circulation. Who receives? Muscles. Thank you. Exactly. Muscles. But since I got a bad news and I have to live with that for a couple days, or maybe just a conflict between husband and wife or something, financial problems or whatever, emotional factors what I listed before, any of them or maybe all of them together. I sit at home today, I sit at home tomorrow, but I want to eat, no? And we eat. But is our abdominal organs have enough blood circulation for a proper digestion? No, because we're under stress. And people eating under stress causing themselves a damage. Stomach ulcer, gastritis, and many, many other problems. Even the stones in a gallbladder. The main reason is that when this liquid was released from a liver, it should just pass on and go into intestine for digestion. But because, as we talked before, we don't eat on a proper time, we eat today at 11, tomorrow at 2 p.m., and the day after tomorrow we eat at 9 in the morning, and the next day we don't eat at all until a heavy dinner in the end of the day. So this is causing problems. And if we add stress on top of that, that stays there. You know, everything kind of, you know, like a freezes in abdomen. And that freezing today, freezing tomorrow, freezing over years, it turns into sand, and sand turns into stones in the gallbladder. Thank you. Nervous system diseases, cardiovascular diseases. Nervous system diseases, it's actually, as we spoke already in the previous lectures, from here, from our brain. It's all about how we handle stress here. Cardiovascular diseases, the same problem. Because we sit and we don't work, but the hormone is released, the blood pressure goes up. Usually what people do when they're stressed, they drink coffee, no? And coffee raises blood pressure even more. Even more. And that happens today, and that happens tomorrow, and that happens next year, and then we have to drink a really strong chemicals to lower our blood pressure. You see, it's all connected. We cannot say all of our problems is from stress, but majority of our problems is from stress and combination with a wrong diet. This is why, while stressed, don't do the following. Do not eat. While you are stressed, do not eat. But do drink a lot. Drink double than you usually drink. Just make sure it's not a coffee or a black tea, because you don't need extra blood pressure going up. You need something which actually relaxes you. So it's a peppermint tea, it's something which is relaxing you. A couple drops of valerian root, and then a tea, and water, just pure water. Drink it a lot when you're stressed. Let me explain to you just as quickly, just to get an idea how that happens. You're under stress, right? While you're under stress, some people reacted in such a way that their stomach releases more acids while they're stressed. And if they don't drink enough liquids, what that acid does? It's walls of a stomach. Now, when our body is in lack of water, it takes it from the organs which for that moment the body can sacrifice. Which is the most important organs that we cannot live without? The heart, the lungs, the brain, the liver. Can we live without stomach? Yes. Can we live without a piece of intestine? Yes. So when we are lacking water, where our body is taking water to supply to the most necessary organs? From the organs which our body is ready to sacrifice at the moment, hoping they will be smart enough to drink enough water, sending us a signal of a thirst. And if we don't drink, and drink instead of water, we drink coffee, coffee actually adds to the production of acids in the stomach. And then that mucus which protects the walls of the stomach is 98% water, and is only 2% of a special proteins which holds that water together. Now, if that water is taken by our body, for our organs, for brain, to maintain the blood level, pressure, then that mucus becomes thinner and thinner and thinner until it disappears. And then we feel pain, gastritis. And if we don't treat it well, we end up with a stomach ulcer. And the theory comes in, oh, you need to drink antibiotics because the stomach ulcer is caused by Helicobacter pylori, which is a bacteria in our intestine. For me, it doesn't make sense. If people drink enough water, instead of coffee, they drink water. Many, many people, I'm telling you from experience, I'm telling you the testimonies of people who told me they got rid of stomach ulcer just on juices and water. And one of them is my mom. She had a bleeding ulcer. And the doctor said, you know, it's bleeding, we need to do the surgery. She said, I'll come in 10 days. If in 10 days I'll not fix it, you know, then I'm ready for the surgery. In 10 days, they did the endoscope, and said, it's actually healing well. What did you do? She said, potato juice, water, and flaxseed oil. Simple. Take a cold shower when you're stressed. Take a cold shower. Massage. One of the best things when you're stressed. And start working physically. Start doing something. If you're at home, if you're not at work, start to cook something. Take the most complicated recipe and start to cook it. Huh? Vacuum the house, you know, wash your windows, paint the fence, you know, do gardening, do something. Don't sit, because that happens as explosion, internal explosion. Because we got an energy. The blood is sent to our muscles, but the muscles are not working. We have to absorb that energy and use it, you know, send that energy to a tool, to a vacuum, to a something. Preventive measures. You remember a question? The most important is not how quickly our body reacts to stressful situation, but how quickly our body relaxes afterwards. And this is where the preventive measure steps in. Now, please tell me, there is a danger, and there are two men in the forest, they meet a bear. One of them used to run every day, every morning, or at least walk a couple miles. Another one never uses exercises. Who have more chance to escape the bear? Why? Because he can run for a couple miles and then turn away and says, well, I lost the bear. While the other man will run a couple 100 feet and just let the bear eat me, but I cannot run anymore. Yes. Well, joke is joke, but the reality is reality. Hydrotherapy. When you do your shower, always in the end of your shower, turn it to maximum heat you can bear. Maximum hot. For 3 minutes. Until you feel, cannot do it anymore. Until you feel the hot and the air that you just cannot breathe anymore. And then turn it to cold for a minute. Well, if you never did it, don't start it from maximum heat and maximum cold. Start it from a hotter and a colder. I mean, for me, I like, the sauna. When you go to sauna, you hit yourself until you're really, really almost, keep breathing, yeah, and then jump in cold water. And back in Ukraine, I had a sauna at home, and when we had the fresh snow, I used to run from sauna and roll in the fresh snow. Or we used to jump in a hole. We were making a hole in a lake or a swimming pool, because of ice in the winter, and jump there. And that's the feeling, but that helps. Whoa. Be careful. Be careful. I'm giving you the warning. Because I do that for years, it's fine with me. If you never did that in your life, start with a warmer water and colder. Not hot, cold, but warm, cool. And do it for a couple months. If you feel okay, then you can accelerate. Of course, I don't want this after lecture, you come tonight, you take a shower, and tomorrow morning you call me and sue me for Brother Ghennadiy, because of your lecture, I had a heart attack. Exercise. Why we need exercise? Because we train our body for a change. You remember? What is stress? A failure to change. Exercise is actually training our body to change daily. If not the daily, then every second day. The most good, the best, the gardening. Because that brings pleasant, that brings a good experience, because you have to you have to bend, and you have to work with your hands, and you have to kneel, and all kind of muscles are involved when you work in a garden. And at the same time, then you enjoy your non-GMO fruits and vegetables. You enjoy it fresh, organic, from your garden. Or even flowers, if you don't have space for vegetables. But you will enjoy the flowers then. Consume enough vitamin E, and we'll talk in a minute what has a vitamin E. And eat healthy. Vitamin E is grape and apple seeds, nuts, green salads, flax seeds or flaxseed oil, raw cereals. They have vitamin E, which is antioxidant. The more we have, the better. This is why when you do smoothie, never cut the middle part of the apple. Leave the seeds inside of the smoothie. Let the blender mulch them and drink it. When you do your smoothie, use seeds, flax seeds. Blend them with the juice and then add your fruits. Because if your blender is not that powerful, it will not blend them. If you put it on top of the fruits, it usually keeps them, the whole seed is not mulched. And if the seed is not mulched, as the seed comes in, the seed comes out with no help to your body. So this is why it's important the hard seeds to be blended, well blended, and then add the other fruits. And so add the juice, add seeds, make a milk out of that, and then add your fruits. Right food, less stress. Let me explain you what I'm talking about. If we consume a lot of cholesterol, you already know from the previous lectures what happens to the cholesterol. On the blood vessels, exactly. It accumulates on the walls of a blood vessel. Now, let's look at this chart. Stress, quantity of oxygen needed. Who supplies oxygen? What supplies oxygen? Blood, exactly. So if under certain level of stress, we need a certain level of oxygen, if the blood vessel is clean, the blood can bring enough supply of oxygen. But if blood vessels are constricted, if blood vessels are they have a lot of cholesterol on the sides, and you barely can see through, there is a certain body limit. And the more cholesterol we consume, that limit goes down. It means that, let's say, to do a comparison, when we need 1 oxygen of a blood per a certain amount of time, and then, let's say, under stress, we need 2 gallons of blood under a certain limit for a certain amount of time. But unfortunately, our body still can supply only 1 gallon. Then what happens? Heart attack. Because it just doesn't have enough oxygen. Without oxygen, muscles die. I have a question. Have you ever experienced muscle pain? That you were kind of sitting for days and then suddenly the spring came, you went outside and you worked the whole day in a garden. And then the next day, why you have a muscle pain? Not enough oxygen. And because it was not enough oxygen, the muscles cells, they used other chemicals of the body for energy. And that chemicals produces acids, which causes the pain. This is why the people who do exercise every day, they don't feel that pain, because their muscles are trained. Their muscles are used for heavy duty work. This is why it's important to exercise. So when the stressful situation comes, we go through smoothly. Our spirit kills our body. This is a very important part of our presentation. Usually, the books written by medical doctors are not covering this side or this part of this subject. They cover the physiology, they cover the preventive measures such as hydrotherapy, exercise, a proper diet, and then they explain in details why it's important and how to do it. They explain the stress, they give certain suggestions how to handle stress. But this is covered only from a biblical point of view. A desire for supremacy, anger, envy, pride, touchiness, irritability, and you name it, you list it. All this adds to our problem and causes stress. Let me bring you an example. If my neighbor walks with a dog, sees me, and doesn't wave me hi, if I am a meek person, will that offend me? No. But if my pride is big, if my I is big, maybe today that neighbor just didn't notice me. He was looking, maybe thinking about something and just kind of looking to my direction, but didn't notice me. But tomorrow he waves, but I turn it in such a way that he noticed that I'm turning away. You didn't wave me yesterday. I don't want your hi today. I'm offended. You see, that all is pride. Why there are conflicts between husband and wife? Because she wants the supremacy in the house. And he says, I'm the boss. So there cannot be two bosses. Well, when there is one boss, then the other feels the slave. There is no boss in the family. I don't know if you consider yourself Christians. I don't know if you believe or trust the Bible. I'm not giving you a Bible study tonight. I'm talking about stress. Even if you don't believe the Bible, it doesn't matter. It still stays the same. Character defects brings a lot of problems and a lot of stress. They bring the problem between the neighbors, co-workers, roommates, husband and wife, parents and children. Character defects. Can we change our character? Yes. Yes, we can. Have you ever heard, that's how I am. There's nothing you can do about it. Ego, the big I says, that's how I am. You like me or not, that's how I am. I'm not going to change myself. Unfortunately, many people before get married, they don't know well one another, and they then get into problems. Okay, they married, they got into problems. What next? Many see divorce as a way to escape problems. But you cannot run from yourself. You'll have problem next marriage, and in the third, and in the 10th marriage. The problem will follow you if you desire a supremacy. If your ego is too big, if your I never yields to somebody's opinion, if you never learned to respect somebody's taste, opinion, then you will have the same problem over and over again. Now, let me bring you another story. When you are in a hurry, don't you notice that the red light stays red longer? So if you are impatient, and that's a defect of your character, what that? That will cause us a lot of stress. Every red light, every car or somebody driving too slow in front of you, every slow move of a neighbor, husband, wife will agitate you, will frustrate you. When the computer freezes or the file is downloading too slow, you will yell at that computer. You'll be mad at that computer. So where's the problem with the computer? No, because everybody here has the same internet speed. Where's the problem? It's me the problem. It's me who causes stress to myself. Emotional stress to myself. This is why we need a change of character. That's a Bible study, how to change your character. If any of you interested in that, we can talk later. Just ask me questions. I want to tell you a physiology, how that actually happens, the change of character. Remember we talked about the reflex. What is the reflex? Those who visited my previous lectures, you should know what is reflex. It's something that your body reacts unconsciously, automatically. Yeah, like if I put my hand here and just, oh, there's something sharp there. Before I realized, before I turn my head to see what is there, my hand is already withdrawn because I felt something hot or sharp there. That is reflection. Reflex. It's like learning to play the piano. Look at this girl. She's about maybe 8 years of age. She is looking at every finger and every note she is pressing on the keypad. She has to read every note, sometimes maybe even count the lines, and then find it here and put the right finger. What happens after 10 years? They don't look even on the fingers. They just read the notes and they play. I know it from my experience. I play piano. Yeah, I can look at the congregation while I play the piano, how if they sing, if they follow me, and I can add some, improvisation. And I don't look at the fingers. They know what to press. Why? Training. That's what happens with a character. If you are lazy to learn playing the instrument, over the years you just don't know how to play it. But if you work on hard, and over the years it becomes your nature. And you will become, from impatient, you will become a meek, patient person. And the red light will not frustrate you. Even if somebody drives crazy and shows you a middle finger on the road, you don't care about it. You will laugh about it, poor man. I mean, I'm sorry for his soul. That's it. What you can say? It's like a path in the woods. When you walk once, you can just, next day you can just see that the grass is little bit, you can see, oh, somebody walked here. And if 2 people walk, 3 people walk, and every day the path is formed where the grass doesn't grow anymore. That's how it's in our brain. If you think positive, if you have a target, I want to change my character, then you will improve your family relationship, you will improve relationship with your children, you will be happier in your life, and you will have less stress, and you will live longer. If not longer, you will live a better quality life. Why I say it's not longer? Some people die in accident. It's not because they were not eating healthy. Yeah, so anything can happen. And I, as a Christian, believe in a providence, heavenly providence. I don't believe in a destiny, no. But providence, yes. Okay, so this is the kind of a summary of our lecture, of our study of today. So let me just do quickly, in couple words, the summary. Conclusion. What is stress? Is change of our body or adaptation to our body to a change. Either achieved change or a failure to change. Either way. So either we adapt and go through or we fail. If we adapt and go through, then we relax and we are fine. But if we don't know how to relax, by the way, about the relax, I almost forgot to tell you a very important thought. It's not a thought, it's actually truth. It's very important to sleep before midnight. If you fail to fall asleep before the midnight, your sleep will be only a shallow sleep. You will miss those hours of a deep sleep, which will make you more exposed to stress next day. And if constantly your lack of a deep sleep, that turns your life to existence, not living and enjoying the life, but to existence, working, coming home, working, coming home, drinking coffee, back to work. Those people who lose a proper hours of a good sleep, deep sleep, they exist. They cannot enjoy their life. I mean, they can enjoy for a moment while they drink a cup of coffee, but that's a stimulant. That's a chemistry, and that's ruins the body. It's not natural way of happiness or energy. It's a fake way, and that is damaging our body. So this is what I forgot to tell you while we were talking about the relaxation. Stress, it can be caused by a physical object or anything, by emotional factor or our character defects. We can eliminate the character defects, and then we will be easier handling the emotional factors. And if only the dangerous situations on the road will remain as a physical outward factor which we cannot control, believe me, you will be the most happy person in life. If that the only reason for stress will remain, the outward factors which you cannot control.